Hello and welcome to Our Time. Again.
Oh, thank you.
We're back.
Great to have your company once again. On today's program, we actually are talking to a polar bear.
You can't... No.
You'll just have to watch and see. But we also have a book club today.
We do.
And we're looking after that.
Yes, we are, because
Susie's off
Sue's
sick.
away.
And we also have Danielle Hanisch, who is the manager of Lifeline.
Welcome to the program, Danielle.
Thank you for having me.
Danielle, I have a problem.
I can help you.
Can you?
I can try.
Is it as simple as making a call?
It is absolutely that simple.
So if somebody really has a life problem, it could be an emotional problem, it could be a physical problem. Emotional problem is I just feel lost.
Relationship problem?
Yeah, relationship.
Anything.
Yep. What does one do?
It's very easy. What someone does is they pick up the phone, they dial in 13 11 14, and they'll be connected with the next available Lifeline telephone crisis supporter.
So 13 11 14.
Is that the number
Yes.
nationally?
Yes, so that's the national number. So one number, it's 13
Is
11
there a
14.
jingle that goes with that?
I wish there was, but there's
13
not.
11 14.
Oh, there usually is.
There you are.
There you go.
13 11 14. That's it.
Is that right?
We just have to keep singing that.
No, we won't.
13 11 14.
That's enough, I think.
Oh, sorry.
But if somebody does have a problem and they ring that number, what happens then?
So what happens then is they'll get connected to a crisis supporter, and so our crisis supporters are all trained in providing support. What they can expect is they can expect someone that's going to listen to them, someone that's going to sit with them in their distress, someone that's going to talk through what's happening for them. They can expect not to get advice.
Not to get
advice. So we're not in the business of telling people what they should do for their problems, but we'll explore what options they might have in moving forward.
Okay, so actually pointing them in the right direction for whatever problem they have.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Is that something that's sort of happened in our society, that we don't have the family or the structure around us, perhaps like we did have in years gone by?
Possibly. What we do find from our callers is often, even if they've got the family and the friends, often what family and friends do is very caringly tell us what we should and shouldn't do about our particular problem.
So
you know,
it is good to have an outsider's
someone
advice.
who's not invested, someone who's doesn't know what's going on, you know. So it might be a relationship problem, and you might tell your parents or you might tell your children, and you know, your children might say, oh, you should just leave him, or you should just...
Actually, that's interesting. That's exactly the advice everybody gives, isn't it?
Yes.
You should do this because I'm an expert.
Yes. Yes. Or people say, oh, well, I've had that very same problem. And...
Particularly medical problems, that's often... Yes, I had a sore foot once and the doctor said it had to come off.
Yes, yes.
Now, but it could be a lot more serious than we're making light of it at the moment, but it can be a lot more serious. It could be a relationship breakdown.
Yes.
And maybe you're feeling threatened. This could be a male as much as a female.
Yes, yeah. We speak to both men and women, calling about all sorts of issues. Relationships is a big one. Mental health is another one. Domestic violence is another one.
I guess also for a lot of people who have worked all their lives and suddenly the work has stopped and you don't really know what to do with yourself. You think, oh, won't it be great to be able to be home all the time? And you think, oh, what do I do next?
Yes.
I've seen that happen to a lot of people in my age group because I'm in that retirement age group. So people have left work and usually for 3 or 4 months they fix the house or they repair this or do the cleaning.
But I was just thinking, there's, you know, that situation where you're used to doing, well, the wife in particular, doing certain things around the house a certain way, and then suddenly you've got this man who wants to do it a different way. I mean,
well, the man would be right. You should just follow his advice.
No, I'm just saying those sorts of things can really get to you, and they can break up a relationship.
Absolutely.
So, you know, that's probably a lighter thing than other things we could be talking about, but it does actually start you off on a path that you don't want to be going down.
Absolutely.
So if you've got somebody like that because you don't want to talk to family and friends about that, you just pick up the phone and say, look, this is happening. Who can I talk to?
Absolutely.
Who can help me?
So you can put whatever the call is then in contact with somebody else who can perhaps give advice or
Absolutely.
take
So what
them the
we
next
would
step?
do is we would listen to the situation, we'd talk through what options the person has, what options the person might like to investigate further, and then we can connect them with other services that might be supportive. We might be able to connect them with community groups that might be supportive. And sometimes, you know, you were saying before about making light or picking lighter subjects. Sometimes it's good to ring then before things get out of hand and you end up dealing with quite a significant debilitating relationship issue.
But
Whereas
then,
if
as
you
you
catch
said
it early,
before, you said before too, sometimes people just need to make that phone call and that's enough.
absolutely.
Just to have somebody at the end of the phone listening, and that
Absolutely.
could just make them feel 100% better.
Absolutely. Sometimes it is just having another person just to listen and provide support, and then the problem seems less overwhelming and people are
It's
able to
interesting,
move
isn't it?
on.
Listening is a very important part of life that we often forget. We just need to listen to each other.
Absolutely.
Can we jump to something that's perhaps more serious? So I have a grandson. This isn't real, but just say I have a grandson who suddenly discovered ice. Not the type that keeps the fridge cold, but the other one. And I'm really desperate to know how to assist them. What could I do?
Sure. So if that was someone calling Lifeline, we would speak them through what sort of the problem looked like. And there's two parts to that. One is how the grandson is managing with what's going on, but also how the grandparent is managing, because you can only help the person that's ringing up initially, but then you can provide them with resources that might be helpful for them to pass on. So we would be looking at what the grandparent was concerned about, how they might have noticed, how they might have come across this problem, have they come across it
It could perhaps be the question mark too.
Absolutely.
My grandson is reacting oddly.
Yes.
Maybe that's,
I suspect this might be going on, so we would talk through that. We would offer some ways for the person to find more information about ice and where to go to for help and support, because it's not only help and support for people affected or people using the substance, but also support for families and friends, because what we know about people using, or when people use ice, is that they can become at times challenging, they can become at times violent, and so it's important to...
And frightening, just simply frightening.
Yes, and that's not who they are or what normally happens, but because they're affected by a substance, they're behaving in other ways. So getting support for that family to make sure that safety is paramount in that circumstance for grandma, grandpa, other children that might be around, other families, and the person affected by the substance.
So it could be the change in behaviour of somebody that you're really ringing about, to just get someone to talk to say, try this or try that. Because as you're saying, you're not giving advice, do this, do this.
No.
It's just passing them on to somebody that could...
That can actually help them.
And talking through some potential options. Yes.
Wow.
So there's the other situation of domestic violence, which no one can really hide under the rug, and it can be at any age. It could be because of dementia happening to a partner. It could be the change of working environment. It could be anything. Is it? Do people sort of, when they ring, do people feel that they're doing the wrong thing by asking for some assistance?
Sometimes.
Do you think, is that a problem? It's like, this can't really happen to me or to my family. I shouldn't have to ask or talk to somebody outside of the family group.
Sure, sometimes people do ring with that. Most often I think it's people don't name it as what's happening to them. People say, I'm having relationship problems, or I'm having problems getting along with people, when in actual fact there's violence or there is aggression going on. And with domestic violence, it can be emotional, it can be social. You know, particularly in say elder people, it might be things like withholding medications or limiting access to family and friends, or isolating people. So there are lots of types of behaviours, and we know particularly with domestic violence, isolation is one of the biggest tactics used in violence. So just being able to ring a number and connect with somebody else is the first step in alleviating some of that distress.
And that number again is?
13 11 14.
And that's
13 11,
time of the day.
14, 13, 11, 14.
Any time of the day.
Any time of the
24
day.
hours a day,
Okay.
7 days a
Yeah,
week.
that's
And
good.
this is all over Australia.
All over Australia. So it's a
Okay.
national service.
So the important thing to remember, if you do have an issue and if you do find that you can't really talk to a family member, maybe you don't want to spill the beans on what your problem is, that there is somebody you can talk to. That somebody, if you actually need help, can hand you on to somebody else
That can
who is
assist you in
specific to your problem.
Yeah.
It's no one should live unhappily.
Absolutely not.
And no one should actually live with ongoing problems.
Everybody deserves to be happy, everybody deserves to be safe, and everybody deserves to have someone there to listen to them when they really need it. And that's what Lifeline's there for. And it really is the community helping the community. People that really care about other people, people that want to be there and hear other people's distress. So we have people for that very purpose, so that nobody in our community, wherever they are in Australia, has to be alone when they're dealing with difficult situations.
Danielle, thank you.
Thank you so much.
great.
13, 11, 14.
13, 11, 14. What's coming up
Switch
next?
him off. I don't know, Malcolm. Tell me.
Book club.
The book club?
Yes, and then we're going to talk to a polar bear.
No, we're not
13,
talking to a
11,
polar-
14.
Thank you very much for
13,
coming.
Thank you for
11,
having me.
14, 13, 11. It's book club. Welcome back to OurTime.
Yes. And
What's the book, Janice?
It's called The Rosie Project, and we have Tash and Jill here to talk
Lovely
about
to
the
see
book.
you. It's the first time I've had a chance to speak with you.
What? How wonderful for you.
It is. Well, I just thought, I knew I was going to do this segment, so I thought I'd be here for this segment. So I, instead of Sue, because she's away.
Yeah.
So I thought I would have a look on Mr. Google, of course, and
To some reviews
well,
about the book.
actually, no, I looked on. Oh no, I can't think
Wikipedia.
of Wikipedia. Thank you very much. Because I was fascinated to know that this is a book that's only just been written.
It's not too. I mean, it's a fairly recent book. What is it?
13.
2013. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I knew that.
Yeah.
And right now, well, a month or so ago, they started filming.
Yes, 2014 they decided to make it into a movie.
Yes, but they're probably filming as we speak, because it takes a couple of months to make a movie.
And as soon as you read it, you know that it's going to be a movie.
Yeah.
It's got to be a movie.
Yeah.
It's
Okay. How do you describe it? Is it a romantic what?
Romantic comedy.
well,
Comedy?
yeah, perhaps, yeah,
Yeah.
because it is hilarious.
Yeah.
And there is romance, if you can consider romance.
I think it's romantic.
Yeah, he does learn to what
Yeah.
love means.
Yeah.
Well,
But
hang
it
on,
starts
sorry.
but it starts off, and that's why it's called
Yes.
the project, because it starts. This man is a scientist,
He is a
Yes.
scientist.
and he
Lecturer.
He's got Asperger's.
And he has
Yes.
Asperger's,
and he
which
starts
is a very
this
interesting
project to look
combination.
for a wife.
For a wife.
Right.
Well, one of his friends actually start him off, don't they? Doesn't
That's
Jean
right,
suggest?
Jean.
Yeah, he comes up with a system so that he can actually find a wife that's appropriate for him.
Hasn't he heard of the
been with
internet?
he's been with a partner and they've separated, they've split up, haven't they? And Don's a bit lonely, and they think they need to find him a partner. Yes.
I didn't think he had a partner, but
I thought he did have one.
You have to read the book to find out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, good. Haven't read it.
It was a little while that we read it now.
Yeah. But no, because of the Asperger's, and the internet is a very good way to find a partner. That's the modern way of doing it. So he
I don't
comes.
know. I'd be careful.
Well, yeah. After
But he's
reading
very
this, you would
particular
be
as well.
Yes, and
So-
that would be part of his Asperger's.
That's
wouldn't it?
right, yeah.
Okay.
So he
the-
makes a survey.
List of criteria.
Yeah. So the perfect partner has to meet all the criteria.
All the criteria.
Not just part
No,
of them,
yeah.
and some of them, you go, well, you're not going to find anyone. They're not allowed to drink. They're not allowed to smoke. They can't be vegans. They can't be a whole lot of things that don't have to
Certain
be fit.
weight, that's right.
Certain
Yeah.
BMS.
Yes. Yes, he does
Okay,
it.
so the man's a bit crazy.
Yeah. Well, no, he's got Asperger's. He can calculate
Yes, but
people's body
desire
mass
to find-
index
Okay.
from looking at them.
Oh gosh, but
Yeah.
you'd have
He
to be
does
a
it
bit
all the
crazy
time.
if you really think love is like that.
Well, that's right. And that's
Tula.
something that he learns through the
process.
course of the project. He meets this one girl by chance who absolutely crosses all of them. She ticks nothing. But
Yeah,
for some
in fact,
reason...
she should have failed totally. But this is where it comes in, you know, where you say he must be crazy. Well, Asperger's isn't crazy.
No.
But you have a different concept of the world. And
Perspective.
in terms of, you know, like those emotional relationships, he's not seeing that.
Well, he's crazy to think that you fall in love that way. That's
yes,
the point.
but then nature kind of overrides that because he's going, well, how come, you know, I'm not kicking her out by it?
He ends up spending a lot of time with her. He enjoys her company and he can't work out why, because she doesn't tick any of the boxes. She smokes, she drinks,
And she
moves
keeps him on
his
his toes.
furniture
She
around.
keeps
Yeah.
the interest going.
The first date, they're at his house for dinner, and they go out on the balcony, which he never uses because he's seen the view once, so he knows what it's like. So he never goes out there anymore. And she's just like, but it changes all the time. Why aren't you sitting out here looking at it all the time?
And she constructs this little impromptu sort of little furniture arrangement by pulling bits and pieces out of his, you know, neatly arranged. You know, everything's got to stay the same. That's part of the, you know, the whole
It's the order.
Asperger's
The order of
syndrome.
his life.
Yeah, and he's loving it. And he kind of, something happened with the clock. Can you remember what that was?
I can't remember.
And he didn't realise what the time was.
Oh, that's right, because everything is meticulously timed. Everything is done to the minute, and he realises he's lost track of time. Or she changes his watch or something like that. He makes a date with her and he sets his watch to a different time and doesn't realise that it's not that time. And then he realises that, okay, she's having this effect on me. But
Oh my goodness, look at it. You know, it's past midnight. It's a weeknight. I should be in bed. And
I've got to have this many hours of sleep.
because I've got to get up early.
Totally ordered life.
Yeah.
So it's a great book. It's a new book and it's a great book.
Awesome.
Tell us about the author.
I don't know anything about the author. I know that he must be Australian because it was set in Australia.
He is Australian.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
And he's
You
written
sound
a
like you know
follow-up
more
book.
than The Rosie Effect is the
Yes.
follow-up book.
So it'll be interesting to see how he wraps this book into the next book.
I've just reserved that from the library, so I'm about to start
Well, the
reading
reason
that
I
one.
mention that is because when you read a book, if you've been engrossed in the story, then obviously what happens next
That's
is you know what we all think.
Yep.
And if it's a good yarn,
We
get
love a
2
trilogy.
books out of it.
Yeah.
I'd
Two
say.
or
Yeah.
three.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this, I am looking forward to reading that bit.
Well, you
'Cause
learn, you know-
it tells you more about her too, but because she's looking for a father.
That's right.
That's
and
how
that's
it
why
sort
it
of turns
becomes the
around.
Rosie Project.
Yeah.
Because she's trying to find her dad. And there are a list of candidates, and he, as a scientist, helps her because he does
Isn't
genetics.
the father a best friend of the boyfriend? Oh,
don't
sorry, I
give
said
too much away.
I said too much. I won't say any more. Excepting next time we have book club, we're reviewing. The girls are talking about Claiming Noah, which is written by Amanda Otip.
Well, we're
Otip.
not sure how to pronounce that.
So Amanda, if you're watching,
Perhaps
please
that
let
can
us
be
know.
a competition.
Yes.
Viewers, please write in.
How do you pronounce the
How to
name
pronounce
of the
the
author?
name.
Girls, thank you very much for this edition of Book Club, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be back in a moment on OurTime.
And welcome back. Where's the polar bear, Malcolm?
The polar bear. Well, actually, the polar bear isn't
don't
here
believe
with
it.
us right now.
No.
But earlier this year, I was working in Abu Dhabi, and I was working with a polar bear.
As you do.
As you do, of course. Now, what's amazing about this polar bear is well, you'll find out. I just want to tell you, I recorded this on my phone. So here's me introducing me and the polar bear. I have some very unusual guests for you to meet with one of the most unusual characters. As you know, I've worked with Humphrey Bear, but never quite a bear like this one.
Yeah, I thought so. Good boy.
It's my pleasure to introduce to you Nuala and also Kim, who are the creators of that character you just saw. How did the polar bear begin?
Originally, we were looking for an act that worked during the winter season because we already had some very successful shows that ran during the summer, and I we used to design a lot of fantasy creatures, and basically I panned back from the drawing board one day and realised that a lot of the pictures that I had on there were Arctic animals, particularly polar bears, and thought, hey, why not? Let's give it a go.
You know what they say, you take on the personality of the character you create. Is he a cold soul?
Yeah. Well, the thing about polar bears is when we started to make the show, I started doing a lot of research around polar bears, and it was when climate change was first becoming a real issue, and it was quite, it was incredible to find out all this stuff, but to find out more about polar bears and how specialised they are. But they're fascinating animals because they're so adapted to live in such a hot environment. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I might have taken on a little bit of polar bear personality. Smart guy, always looking for food.
One of the few land mammals that actually does hunt man for food.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes,
yeah.
frightening in a way. But that's the beauty of the character, because people they're not sure, are they? They're really not sure. Is this a real polar bear? And the reality is, you call him, well, he has a name.
Yes.
Bjorn. And you see him as a real personality. You working with him must.
Well, yeah, you have, I mean, I have to, and I do find myself sometimes talking to the polar bear's head, as if it's the polar bear's ears that can hear me.
But it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you have to believe yourself.
Of course. But when you watch the audience, the children coming up, they're so engaged, aren't they? But funny things must have happened.
Yeah, I mean, not just children, adults also. Not that long ago, I had a woman during a show get really, really upset and start shouting, "This is wrong, like, this animal shouldn't be here, this is so," and I said, "Man, he's not distressed, I assure you," and I was kind of patting the bear and, saying, if he was at all distressed, he wouldn't be here, he's been with me since he was a cub, he's not a wild animal, he's very used to people. And she said, "I'm sorry, but this is just wrong," and she was pointing like this. And the polar bear was just trying to bite her fingers at the same time. It's like, oh.
But what a great compliment. That really is the ultimate compliment. Now, you haven't been to Australia, you've been all over the world. Just finished the season in China.
Yes.
And here in Abu Dhabi. What's next?
We'd love to come to Australia. It's one of the few places we haven't been yet, so we're just waiting for the phone call.
I reckon Bjorn could teach the drop bears a thing or two. Get him, Bjorn.
It's worth actually having a look at the website, which is
www.lostchaos.co.uk.
because that's what your surname is. Chaos.
Yes, K-A-O-S.
Yes, what a wonderful way to describe. I hope you've enjoyed meeting these people. And here's just another look at that amazing bear.
He's behaving himself today, isn't he? He's good boy. Now.
That's what he made the noise. Rah.
And just...
I shared a dressing room with the polar bear.
That's
and those
why
two
it'll
lovely
happen.
people. Kim, of course, is the person that makes the polar bear work, but just an extraordinary character.
But that person that's inside, how long do they have to actually stay in?
Oh, half an hour or so.
At a time?
Yeah,
That's a long
in a
time.
very awkward position as well. They're just a really unusual act, and they actually do a dinosaur, which is the cutest thing, but it's a great big dinosaur, but so convincingly real. People were passing by and seeing the polar bear and say, "Oh, isn't that terrible to keep a bear like that in captivity?"
Oh, really?
Well, it would sort of cook coming from the North Pole as it does and everything, but just an amazing thing, an amazing group of performers made all of that happen.
Wonderful.
And I shared a dressing room with the polar bear. That's the best thing I can say. If you'd like to know more about OurTime, we would love you to connect with us on Facebook.
We would. But you can also, if you've missed a program, you can probably watch it on YouTube.
Well, you can now. So we leave information for you on Facebook. We also have, of course, our website, and you can send us an email if you'd really like to, but Facebook is the quickest, easiest way.
Yeah, if there's something you'd like to share with us, or if you'd like us to bring something to you, let us know.
See you next time on OurTime.
See you then.